Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. And also, for those of you that are not aware of, we are recording this on Halloween, so a happy Halloween to everyone out there. We have Brittany Nicole on the podcast. She's a limitless physiques coach. She's a nutritionist, CPT, CSCS, a PN1. No idea what any of those mean, but we'll find out. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you into that healthy and fit lifestyle? What really inspired you to adapt that change?
Man, okay, so one, if you see my face do like weird stuff, it's because I'm nervous, so don't mind that. So I have, like I was telling you earlier, I have lupus and MS, and I've been sick since as long as I can remember. I've had strokes, I've had like, renal failure. I've just, if you could think of it, it's probably happened. So I I don't know, I always wanted to be like active and healthy. And whenever I was healthy, like I had good days, I feel great days, like I rocked them. But I was a medical mystery for a really long time. So, I mean, between like the doctors like prodding and poking me, and like I was basically a science experiment to them. So they'd always tell me, like I would be in school and I'm like, hey, like I have practice today. And they're like, no, 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 you need to sit out. And oh, you don't need to do this and you don't need to do that. So, like, I guess the breaking point for me was I was just in the hospital all the time. And, like, I hated life. Like, I didn't feel good at my core. And so, that will flow into other areas of your life too. And, so like I was always sad and I just envied everyone else because they could go and do stuff. And so I guess about 5 years ago, yeah, it was about 5 years ago now, I had like this insane experience in the hospital. Like long story, but I died in the hospital, right? And when I came to, my little brother was there, and I just had this moment where I was like, you know what, like this is it. Like I have another chance to be something. I have another chance to be better, and I'm going to be better. So, nothing that the doctors are doing is helping me. So I'm going to do what I can to learn everything I can, like as far as nutrition and what I can do to be better, and just kind of started from there.
That's absolutely amazing. So when you were starting out, I always kind of like to make the analogy that if you were to walk into a weight room or a gym, there's going to be 100 different people in there, and there's 100 different ways as to how they got in shape, how they got fit, whether it comes to their nutrition, how many reps they do, what sort of exercises they do, all that sort of stuff. Was that difficult for you starting out to figure out what specifically worked best for you when it came to getting results?
I got lucky because I actually met, I don't even remember how I met this friend. Like I was telling you, like I was in the hospital a lot. So, like, they would be checking on me like every hour. And so they would always wake me up and they would take my blood, and I would always like be awake for a while when they did that. So, like, it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I think one of my friends, like, he worked nights or something, and it was on Facebook. And so I think we exchanged emails or something. But either way, like, we would just communicate. And he lived in Colorado. And, I told him, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to be a bodybuilder. And I'm moving out to Colorado soon and this and this. And he's like, you need a coach. I'm like, what is a coach? Like, what? So then he introduced me to his coach, who then gave me a plan and told me everything to do. So I got really lucky with that because, I already had the plan laid out for me.
That's definitely something that I wish everyone would have out there just when they get started with.
Yeah.
I think so many more people would be able to stick with it if they had someone out there helping it. So that's really, really awesome. And when you were getting started, did you find that your body adjusted really, really quickly, or was it more of sort of a time-consuming process when it came to seeing those results?
I think once you actually get a plan and you stick with it, and then like you get a lifting plan and a nutrition plan, like those together, I think, and especially whenever you're like a new lifter, I think from my experience like with my new lifting clients, like I think you get really great results pretty quickly.
Yeah, we definitely, it's been either, I've always liked to say, some of the people that we say that have those, more long-term results are the people that already have that super strong foundation. Like we've had gymnasts on here that already have that built foundation that it takes them maybe a little bit longer as opposed to someone who's like 50 pounds overweight going and then they lose a lot more just because their body isn't used to it. But did you suffer at all from beginner gains? And for all the audience members out there who don't know what that is, beginner gains is basically when you're starting to work out, your body, it's something new, so your body really adjusts really, really quickly to that that stuff and you get results faster, but over time your body gets used to it and your results don't happen as quick as they used to. Was that something that you ever suffered from?
Honestly, like, I don't think so. We're talking about plateaus.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had a plateau yet. I mean, because I've always been like, I've done since I started training 5 years ago, I've done shows consistently throughout the year. So it's funny because my coach, well, one of my mentors, he's like, so you really just haven't had like a true like off season for a year to just do what your body's going to do. And so I don't think I've ever plateaued.
So I know that bodybuilding was already your sort of go-to goal when you were getting started out, but at what point did you figure that I'm ready to do this? I'm ready to actually start competing. How long did that take?
Oh, I jumped right into it. When I was introduced to my first coach, I was like, "Hey, I want to do a show." And he's kind of like, "Okay." But then like I picked a show out and I think it was like, I don't know, it was like a show I want to say maybe like 10 weeks away because I was like, "Yeah, it's enough time. It's going to happen really fast." He's like, no. So I actually got on stage like 6 months later and then just have been going ever since.
That's awesome. So when it comes to your first prep, I always sort of like to ask, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, I like to talk, about how when you first start working out and you adapt that diet, that can be rough enough as it is, but prep is really taking it up a notch to the whole new level. What was your experience like with that first prep?
First prep, I found, you know what Pinterest is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I started my first prep around the time that I was introduced to Pinterest. And my view of what healthy is and what prep is they are not the same at all. So I was obsessing over like, oh, the healthy treats. And I kid you not, like I would go to bed and I would just be like on Pinterest, like I'm just going to scroll a little bit. And then, till I get sleep, I'm just going to go to sleep. But then my alarm would go off for cardio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 4 in the morning and I've been out here for like the last like 5 hours. Like what? So I think like I was spending so much time trying to, what am I trying to say? I'm spending so much time trying to figure out how to make all of these things work when I could just follow the plan. Like the trick is just following the plan. So I had to really just laser focus in. And if this cloud bread isn't on your plan, then you don't need to worry about cloud bread. All right.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the big stereotypes and myths that we love to bust, I mean, it's gotten a lot better, I'd say, with Instagram over the last 5 years, but still there are a lot of women that believe that if you touch one weight, you're going to somehow Hulk out and become Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson overnight. You're going to put on 50 pounds magically. I mean, I don't know where they get, I mean, it's like, sign me up if that's possible. I'll be one of the first people to download that. When it comes to that myth, I mean, obviously you didn't have that starting out because you wanted to be a bodybuilder, but when it comes to, I mean, I guarantee that you've probably heard women come up to you and say that. What is your main response to that?
Oh my gosh, all of the time. No, I don't want to look like you. I just want to tone. Let me just take a breath. But you are not gonna get heavy, or you're not gonna just because you lift heavy does not mean you're gonna Hulk out. You're not. You drink a protein shake doesn't mean you're gonna just like that is not how this works. It's okay. So like me, it's very, very easy for me to gain muscle. I eat right, I lift, like my body, that's how it is. I can gain muscle on 1,200 calories. And like right now, I'm eating like 1,000 calories since I'm like 2 weeks out, right?
Yeah.
So, no, like I look at them and I'm like I wanted to be a little bikini girl, but I can't. Like the IFBB Pro bikini girls, they are so freaking pretty. Love it. But no, like you are not. That's not how this works. Muffins, pick up muffins. That's what's going to make you big. All right. That's my brain is just right now.
Oh, no worries. We've been talking about prep brain all the time on this show, so we completely understand. But I always like to give sort of the backstory of I had to deal with that myth myself because I had a girl that I was good friends with at college, and that's when I really started working out. And she'd always say like, "Oh, I want to go to the gym with you and work out, but I don't want to get too big. I don't want to get too bulky." And that happened for like a couple months, and then I finally snapped her one night and said, "Hey, look, the amount of weight that you carry in your purse when we go out to clubs, when we go out to eat or whatever, weighs more than a lot of the dumbbells in there, and you're not gaining any muscle from lugging that thing around. So it's all just about getting in the gym and realizing that, hey, that's not how things work. I mean, the
Yeah.
amount of hard work and dedication you have to put in there to even gain any muscle is just staggering. That it's just one of those things that I think really needs to be pointed out there. But now, obviously, moving on, if you haven't noticed, I'm a very pale person. When it comes to putting that tan on, what has that experience been like for you? Because a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, it makes everything pop out." I've seen muscles that I never even knew that I had. What was your experience like the first time putting that tan on?
So, I mean, okay, so I'm from Texas. So, like, there, everyone's tan. The hair's like blonde and big and long nails. And it's just, when I got my first tan, it didn't really do anything for me. Like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like, because I was just used to that sort of color. Like, it's extremely dark, but that's kind of how some people tan in Texas where I'm from. But I remember the smell, and it was definitely not a pleasing smell, like, ever. And the other day, so I was telling you, I got ready for a photo shoot yesterday. So I was like, yeah, I should probably put a little color on. So I ordered the same stuff from the first tan I ever got, and I ordered the wrong kind. So I ordered the bronzer that you put on right before you go on stage. So, like, I'm in here like getting brown, and I'm like, yeah, thinking like I'm gonna wake up the next morning, just like do a little rinse, and I'm gonna have like this nice glow. No, I'm doing cardio, and it's just coming through my shirt. Like, it's didn't work at all. But it's that smell, and I had that smell all day yesterday. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing that we never really that I never learned until I started was that smell that most people don't really mention too much, which is a huge deal. And I have a lot of up and coming musicians on the show, along with a lot of healthy and fit guests. And one of the things that I love to ask my musician friends is, what is that thrill like performing live? What is that feeling like being on stage? And then I think that also applies to people who compete as well. What is that feeling like for you when you get to walk on the stage and show off all of that hard work that you've done for months on end, especially when it comes into prep? What is that feeling like for you?
You know, I feel free. Like, right before you go up on stage, it's like you just take this breath, and I can just, and it's like every single thing that I've done leading up to that show, it's done. Like, all of the grind, I mean, not saying the grind just is going to stop because of the show, but like, prep is very, very difficult, and you sacrifice a lot for it. So it's like it's like that moment you can just take a breath, and you're like, ah, I got this. And then when I go up on stage, honestly, I have no idea what I do. I don't know. There's one time they called me out for first call outs, and I fist pumped. I was like, yeah. And my coach was like, yelling at me. He's like, you can't fist pump. And I was like, ooh, okay. It's just it's such a good feeling. It's like free. I can't explain it. It's just nice.
So at what point did you realize that you would have to go to the physique division? Was that early on? Had you planned to do maybe a less division, but then you just realized I'm putting on so much muscle, there's no way I can?
So when I first, I'd always loved Nicole Wilkins. So I, like, when I was in the hospital, like, this was, gosh, I think it was like an Oxygen magazine, or maybe it was a Muscle and Fitness Hers. I don't know. But like, I read them all the time. So like, my family would bring them to me and stuff. And I had torn out this, it was like an advertisement for Teen Universe. And there was also a picture of like Nicole Wilkins, and it was Teen Universe 2014. And I ripped that page out, and I would just like hold on to it. And like, there was a nurse who was like, oh, you're never going to be a bodybuilder. And like, he would make fun of me because I would have like that paper, and like I would sleep with it like under my pillow. So I always knew that like I wanted to do figure. And so 2013, that's whenever I got started. And in 2014, I actually did figure at that Team Universe show that I had like the advertisement for. But then after that, it's like, I'm just, they call me Baby Tank and Pitbull. Like, I'm just like, so it was just an easy switch to figure to physique. And now it's like, well, okay, I guess we're going to go to bodybuilding. So,
And your Instagram name is Coach Muscle Nugget. Where did you get that from? Because that's a great name to have on for your Instagram.
so it's not, I have to give credit where credit's due. Um, I had a client and her part of her Instagram name was like Nugget.
Mhm.
And like she was my best friend, and like I was her coach, and so like everyone always called us the Nuggets. And so like I thought it'd be cute, like, oh, we'll Coach Muscle Nugget, and then it just
Mhm.
kind of stuck, and now it's like on all my business
Mhm.
cards and everything. So it's like, well, I wanted to change it to Coach Muscle Biscuit, but
Mhm.
Josh, my fiance, he's like, that doesn't, no muscle biscuits.
So one of the things that I love to bring up and I love to talk about is that people don't realize that when you guys are competing, you've sort of manipulated your body through all of the hard work and exercise and the nutrition into looking a way that isn't sustainable. Like you're not going to look that way 365 days a year. And some people look at that and they think that, they're like, oh, wow, these people just must be ripped and shredded. They must look like this all the time. That is definitely not the case. What are some tips and strategies that you use for yourself in order to prepare yourself when you're competing, saying, like, I am not going to look this good forever. This is a look that I might only last me for only the day, because we've had people that, start gaining weight immediately that night, or their body can fluctuate hour by hour on show day. What are some ways that you use in order to make that transition process a little bit more easier, saying, like, hey, I am going to put on a little bit of weight?
One thing is you have to be really comfortable with yourself. Like you have to, there's this whole like self love thing that's going around, but you have to learn to love yourself when you are super lean and when you don't see all of those striations anymore. It's just, it is what it is. To be a female bodybuilder, you have to get shredded, you have to get lean, but hormonally and internally, that is just killing you. I mean, it causes infertility, like all that stuff. So you have to really, like, I think this year was a really good year for me because I did a reverse diet after my last show, North Americans 2017, and I reversed out of that, and then I started cutting for this show or for a July show in February. So now I think at this point I've been this like stage lean for like 4 months now.
So what is your go-to meal to have after a show?
Oh, dude, I freaking love sandwiches. I love Jimmy John's. Like, get you like a California club with the wheat bread. Oh, skinny sandwiches. Just feed them.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I would definitely have if I ever competed too. So, at what point did you decide that you wanted to help out others and become a physique coach? How long into your journey before you decided to do that?
So my first coach, he actually, I just started. Well, I was a personal trainer since 2009, but since I was always sick, like I never felt comfortable like telling people what to do versus, because like you're a sick girl, who's going to listen to you? You know what I mean? Like you're not living the lifestyle. So I finally, I guess I started getting comfortable with it in 2014. I just kind of started helping just like a couple people out, and then I got a job as a personal trainer, and then it just kind of went from there. Like I just felt really good about it. I just felt really good about like helping people. Like there's this one lady, she was like 70 pounds overweight and she couldn't even do a squat, and she wanted to do it was like this huge hike, like going up a mountain, and like just worked with her like every other day at the gym, and then she got up there and she did it, and like, you know it's changing people's lives. It's being able to be in a position where you can, oh my gosh, you can change their lives. Like, dude, I can you tell that I'm excited about this?
Absolutely.
It's just like it's waking up to emails being like, oh my gosh, coach, can you believe this happened? Like, I'm so happy. Thank you so much. Or, hey, coach, like, I just wanted to share this with you. I know it's not check-in day, but like, I can fit into these jeans now. And hey, coach, like, they said I had pre-diabetes, but now I don't have it anymore. Hey, coach, I don't have to take this medication anymore because my blood levels are doing better. Thank you. Like, oh my gosh, it's just changing people's lives. I think I was born. I was just born for it.
Mm-hmm. And it says that you're also a nutritionist. What was the most interesting fact about nutrition that you found out when you were going into that?
Most interesting fact about nutrition. That protein is bad for you, like quote unquote, like high amounts of protein. Um, no, like unless you have like an underlying factor, like I don't know why everyone's so afraid of protein or carbs or fats. Everyone's afraid of something
Mhm.
with that. What's the most interesting thing though? That food is thy medicine. Like food is what we put into our bodies can change everything. Like we can heal things with food. Like we can make ourselves sick with food. Like food, like what we put into our bodies becomes us. So I think that's, oh my gosh, that's so interesting to me.
Oh, I mean, that's one of those things too where I just can't even begin to understand what that all entails. And one of the things that I love to ask is, what is probably the number one excuse that you hear from clients who don't want to adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle? What is probably the number one excuse that you get?
Number one. Well, I mean, I'm sure you hear this all the time. Like, I don't have time,
Yes.
or I like food too much. I don't want to look like you. What is it? Someone told me, well, I don't like protein shakes. Like, this just, this just so wild. I don't know. Like, I think people will think of anything
Mhm.
just to not do it, just to stay where they're at because they're comfortable. Because change is scary for some people. So,
Yeah. The time one is a huge one for sure. I mean, we get that a lot. And I always like to say to that, I've had nurses on this show that do 12-hour shifts, 12, 14-hour shifts, and they're still able to do it. It's all about, we're all granted the same 24 hours in the day. It's all about just how you use them and what your mindset is. And I mean, you can do anything then with that. So also, you mentioned it a little bit before, but I was going to elaborate on it more. You were diagnosed with MS, and that is a huge thing that's very, very close to my heart. I have an aunt who has MS. Could you maybe get into detail a little bit of when you got your diagnosis and how that has affected your life?
so I think I've just been so conditioned throughout my life, because of the lupus and because of being sick all the time. And there's all like it seems like there was always something happening. I think I'm just so conditioned for pain, and I don't want to say that lupus was a blessing when it comes to MS, but I feel like lupus kind of set me up to handle MS better, if that makes sense. I remember like I have seizures a lot still, but I was having seizures. Like I would just be, I would just randomly start drooling. Um, my legs, like I would just fall down. Like I had stairs. So now I don't live in a place that has stairs anymore because like I would just be walking up or down the stairs and I would just, my body would just go out. And I actually tore a ligament in my knee. Gosh, this was 2 weeks out of a show in 2016. And it hurts so much, but I guess I'm just so used to hurting already that I don't want to say MS was a surprise, because I think whenever you have one autoimmune disease, a lot of times I feel like they're kind of linked to each other. So when you have something, like something else tends to pop up. So, like I told you earlier, I think like I've just dealt with so much, like, stroke, like renal failure, like seizures. Oh my gosh, I've just dealt with so much that I don't want to say like I expected the MS, but I wasn't surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like they put you on these medications and stuff. And I think the medications made it completely like just, they made my life worse. They probably stopped progression of it a little bit, but I think that I would much rather do what I'm doing now. And this is gonna sound weird. Doctors told me that I would not survive if I did not take my medications. And I think at that time, or even still now, I just think that I would much rather live a shorter life and a happier life doing what I want to do than a longer one taking all these medications and just being ill, and I guess just putting off the inevitable, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100% completely agree with that. And do you think that that might have actually, in some sort of weird way, actually sort of helped out when it came to your training, knowing that you are so used to pain that it kind of helps you in those training moments when you feel like, you've given up and you feel like you can't do one last rep or whatever, but then you're just like, hey, this is nothing compared to what I'm actually going through in everyday life. Let's just pull through.
Yeah. So I remember when I first started training, ah, I first started training, and there would be days like I actually got oh my gosh, I got stuck in my house. I had a flare up, and I lived on the second story of an apartment building, and I woke up and I could not get out of bed. Like I couldn't move my legs. I was terrified. Like I was in so much pain. I had this little dog, and like obviously dogs need to go out and use the restroom, right? And it took me 3 hours to crawl from my bed just to the front door. And it's like I don't know distance, but it wasn't a big apartment. I think it was like 500 square feet. And I cracked the door and I just laid there and I was crying and I couldn't find my phone. And my little dog like ran downstairs, took care of his business, comes back up to me and he stayed there. I was stuck like that for 3 days. Oh my gosh, like I went to the bathroom by myself. Like it was so humiliating and terrible. But anyway, so I think about things like that. And then I think about I'm able to walk today. So hell yeah, I'm gonna go and lift some weight. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in the hospital wishing I could go outside.
Mhm.
Like hell yeah, I'm gonna do this. Like this shit's gonna suck. But you know what sucks more? Not being able to do it.
Yep.
So I really appreciate the very dark times that I've had because I think that it's definitely helped me
Mhm.
now for
Yeah.
sure.
We had one guy on here who was a musician. He was from Alabama, and he worked at a children's hospice. And he said that experience, seeing all those kids that were on their deathbeds, basically really inspired him to take up music again because he used to be a musician, but then he quit. Has your experience also with MS sort of made you realize, the preciousness about life and sort of made you really help to appreciate what you have?
Absolutely. Like I have this I guess it's like a motto now, but it's like, may good flow to me and glue. May good flow to me and good flow through me. And yeah, absolutely. Like we're never going to be able to have this same moment again. Like life really is life is so precious. And every moment that we have, every moment that we can enjoy it, like, oh my gosh, please, please enjoy your life. Just
Mhm.
enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you ever have that fear that you might get maybe like another flare up when you're in the gym? Has that ever happened when maybe you're lifting a weight and then your body might just give out on you?
All the time. All the time. I have warning signs I've
Mhm.
kind of picked up on. So I have seizure medication that I'm supposed to take like every day. And I choose not to. But now I notice that before I have a seizure, a couple days prior to, I'll start having like eye ticks or I'll start slurring my words. That's kind of another reason why I was nervous to do like this podcast. I'm nervous to talk to people is because like I've had a stroke before. So like this side of my face doesn't go up all the way. So sometimes I'll slur or spit or something and it's so embarrassing, but it's like, well, you're way better off now than you were.
I
So
honestly didn't even notice that, first of all. So yeah, you please. Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Lots of therapy.
Mhm.
um Dadgummit. What was the oh yeah, so warning signs. So like I don't typically like to hold glass because you randomly drop stuff. So there will be days where I'm dropping stuff even more. So those days I'm like, let's probably stick to machines versus free weights. Or, we're not going to do deadlifts today. Let's move that to tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about knowing your body, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a good day for bench press then, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Yeah. So one of the questions that I also love to ask people, especially some of the women that we have on the show, is one of the things that I realized when I started working out and getting healthy and fit. Probably the one negative thing for me is that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. You're going to get asked to do, I mean, every time people come home with groceries, you're expected to, go out and lift the entire thing. You're basically supposed to pull in the truck for them. So have you ever found that that's similar where people just look at you and then they expect you are able to do some things and then they ask favors of you like, hey, can you help me move some stuff? Or hey, can you help me get this?
absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, so I leave all of the jar opening to Josh.
Mhm.
My grip is just no, it's not good at all.
I was gonna say her forearms are huge. I was like, her grip must be insane, but I guess it's all an illusion then.
Dude, I think you know what? Because like the lupus, it's like arthritis too. So
Yeah.
my hands, it's just
Oh yeah.
But I'm also, dude, I'm only 5'2", so it's like people like I helped my buddy. I did help him move. He didn't have a whole lot, so I was like, okay. Um, and it was just like it was this big like recliner thing, and I'm not very big, so like yeah, I can lift heavy stuff, but it's like I don't. There's not a whole lot that I can like maneuver around,
Yeah.
And then yeah, I just can't maneuver like that. But my mom, so if I go home or if I'm around her ever, she's always like, Brittany, baby girl, I can't do this. Can you help me? Baby girl, but you're so strong. Like, and she's like 100 pounds. So I'm like, Mom, okay. Like, she's like, but I lifted today. She'll like show me her muscles. And I'm like, okay, sure. 5 pound box. Like, yes, Mom. Like, but,
Oh, does she have that southern accent too, being from Texas?
she does.
Okay, good. I was gonna say when you said baby girl, I was like, if she doesn't have that southern accent, that totally just adds a whole different thing to it. And I was gonna say you're half my guests have been from the South, and I've only had 2 people that have actually had like a legitimate southern accent. One of them was from like the boondocks of Mississippi, where I couldn't even understand a word he was saying, and he was in a band, so I was gonna tell the band members, I was like, this guy cannot say another word the rest of the podcast because I don't want to have to subtitle every single thing that he like. It was bad. But then I had another guy. But yeah, it's I love hearing southern accents. They were some of the best things ever. But yeah, when it comes to that, I mean, I have a different problem because I'm 6'3", so everyone looks at me and then they assume that I can do everything then because they look at me just height alone. So yeah, every I'm at that age too where everyone's moving out of their houses too. So every weekend during the summer, I mean, it's like, Ryan, you got to come over and help me move my couch or my chairs or whatever and help me. So yeah, it's gotten to the point. And then I work for UPS, so I also lift heavy packages all the time. So my nickname is Muscles, so they always say, get Muscles over here if they need like a heavy package to get lifted or whatever. So even last night, my back is still feeling it. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to work out before work tonight just because lifting all those 70-pound packages hundreds of times. I mean, it's just, it has its wear and tear on you. And then probably my favorite question to ask, I mean, I always like to say this is a multi-million-dollar solution that if anyone out there is looking into making money, this is definitely the way to go. When it comes to clothes for fit women and clothes for muscular women, your clothing options are severely limited. I always like to say, dresses are somewhat out of the picture if you have big shoulders. Jeans are another issue that we hear from a lot. What are some ways that you sort of compensate for the fact that your clothing options are severely limited?
Okay, so no sleeves. Or so Josh, he will order stuff and he'll usually order it in the wrong size because sometimes it'll come from China or whatever. And so then like it's in male size, but it's like a small male size. So he'll be like, babe, got you a new shirt. Like, awesome. But so just a little funny story. So we had Halloween together and he was Lieutenant Dangle. And yeah. Yeah. His
Okay, hang on 1 second. You're not going to believe it, but in my closet right behind me, I have a Lieutenant Dangle costume that I wore that I wore like 5 years ago, and I still have it, and it's one of the greatest costumes ever. I mean, this was back also before when I just trained upper body and I didn't train legs, so that made it even funnier. God. That made it even funnier for people when I showed up. But yeah, I've compensated for that. I've started to train legs a lot now, but continue with your story.
Yeah, so he was Lieutenant Dangle. And he was like, hey, babe, like, we've got this Halloween costume party to go to. I'm like, oh, crap. Because in my brain, I'm like, prep. I'm not doing nothing, So he orders me this costume and, like, he surprised me with it. And so he was Lieutenant Dangle and I was a prisoner. So, but the thing with this outfit is he got it. It was like an extra large. Because anything for me, like I have to do extra large if I even want to try to fit into anything. So he gets it for me, and I'm trying to put it on, and I can't get it on. So I can't even get it like through. I can't get my arms through it. So I had to rip open the sleeve underneath just so it fit, and still it was like pretty snug. Mm-hmm. But of course, you get this all the time: spandex, and or shorty shorts, because you don't have to worry about getting your thighs through the shorts. So as long as your waist can fit, you're good.
Yeah, that's one of those things. And again, you guys, it's a multi-million-dollar idea if you want to come up with a brand of footwear for women. I mean, people are just craving it. I've been asked 100 times to make sure to mention that. So if anyone out there, if you're in design school or whatnot, just come up with that. You're gonna you're gonna be successful in what you do.
If there's someone that wants to make that, like, I'm all about it. I'll totally
Mm-hmm.
support that. But if these pants are $120 a pair,
Oh yeah.
no.
Don't pull a Kanye and make like a $300 plain white tee. Yeah, either that's not gonna work. Yeah,
No.
and I also had a similar experience. I was at a friend's wedding, and I had put on about 15 pounds of muscle before the wedding, in the 4 or 5 months prior to that. And I went down to bend over to get something, and then my shirt inside ripped off. But luckily my jacket didn't rip. But yeah, that was. Then I kind of learned, hey, I might need to upgrade the wardrobe. So now before we go into our questionnaire segment, since it is Halloween, I'm gonna have a little extra special Halloween questionnaire segment where I'm going to ask you a few Halloween-related questions since we are sort of celebrating the season. So, first off, what is your favorite Halloween memory from your childhood?
Oh, that's good. What is it? What is my favorite? What is it? Dude, so this was like, I'm like 31 now, so I had to be like, what, like 5. And like back in that time, you could like walk the streets at
Mm-hmm.
night. Like it was safe. No one's really gonna mess with you. Like the odds of people messing with
Mm-hmm.
you are very low. So like it would just be like a group of us kids, and it would be freezing outside, and we would just get all dressed up and just go out together, and we would just be able to get the candy and just eat all the candy and watch Nightmare Before Christmas. And like, I don't think Nightmare Before Christmas was even out then, but for some reason that's popping in my head. So that and Hocus Pocus.
Yep.
But not like one specific memory. I guess like I miss being able to like go out in the streets at night, not have to worry,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not being able like not having to look through candy for like, oh, did someone like poison
Mm-hmm.
this candy? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah, that's one of those things I even remember growing up. My parents would always do the thing where they'd look through the candy. But yeah, trick or treating for me is just that was probably my biggest thing. Do have one memory that does come to me where it's not really my favorite, but it's just a notable memory. So I was getting ready to go out. I was dressed up as I forgot what it was, but I think it was like a super scary like monster head or whatever. I was probably around like 10 years old. It was one of my last few years of trick or treating, and someone rang the doorbell, and I didn't know who it was, so I went to go and answer it. I didn't mean to scare him at all. I was just in my Halloween gear, and it was like a 3-year-old little kid. So when I answer the doorbell, he's like, "Trick or treat," and then he goes, "Ah!" And then he goes and like runs back to his dad, and he like starts crying. And I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know! Like I didn't do any of this." And then the dad was just laughing. He thought it was funny, but then so I gave the kid his candy or whatever. But that's just the one thing that I always remember. So I have to work tonight, luckily, because so I don't have to hand out candy, which is nice. But I know I'm one of those people where I don't like sitting around and waiting all the time. But yeah, that's definitely it. In the future when I do handing out candy, got to make sure that I don't wear anything. Are you gonna be handing out candy tonight?
I didn't even think about that. No. I'm just gonna show up at the door and like flex on them. And
You gotta give them protein shakes.
bro, like I don't share protein, so
Give them some of those like protein bars or whatever. I bet there's probably got to be some people out there doing that. Some bodybuilders that I was like, yeah, get them started healthy. I mean, we had the neighbors across the street that would usually just give you a thing of soda, and then they'd give you like one of those caramel popcorn balls or whatever. Those I love those things.
Those are so good.
Oh yeah. They would give it, yeah, they were the best by far. So I got to make sure.
I don't think candy would be safe in this house right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say like we've had moms on here, and we're like, how do you deal with the fact that they're eating pizza and hot dogs and hamburgers all the time, and you're just thinking like, how can I not? And they're always like, yeah, it's a huge struggle. So now, what is your favorite Halloween movie of all time?
Oh gosh, favorite Halloween movie. Okay, so I don't know if this is a Halloween movie or not, but I just saw it like a couple months ago. Like, okay, well, first of all, like obviously Nightmare Before Christmas. But what is it? Is it Princess Bride? Is that people talk about that for Halloween, and I don't know why. But is that a Halloween movie?
Okay, we're gonna have to pause that. One of my questions that I was gonna ask you later on in the questionnaire segment is, what is your favorite guilty pleasure movie? And that is my favorite guilty pleasure movie, is The Princess Bride. That is my ultimate date night movie. I will watch that. That's one of those movies where if it comes on, I'm stopping everything, and I could be working out mid set, and if that movie comes on, I'm dropping the weight and I'm done working out until the movie's over. It's just one of those. I know it from start to finish. Yeah, I mean, that's just fate that you happen to mention that movie, but yes, I'll consider that sort of a Halloween movie because it does sort of have a little bit of that. You always see movies that have like a certain feel of holidays, even though they might not be directly associated with it, that you're just like, yeah, it has that sort of feel. Like, I think the movie's sort of like Sleepy Hollow or stuff like that, where it's not directly Halloween, but like it has that feeling where it's so yes, I'll accept that. And then I mentioned it before, is probably the original Halloween. I mean, that's just one of those movies where like I mentioned before, I scared my dad earlier today with a Michael Myers mask, and that was that's definitely. And I spent last night watching like 4 or 5 different horror movies, and I'll probably be doing it tonight when I get home from work. And yeah, that's I absolutely. This is probably my second favorite holiday besides Christmas, which is obviously.
I remember there is one movie that scared the crap out of me when I was little. Never watched it ever again. It was like Ernest.
Ernest Gets Scared Straight.
Yes, that scared the crap out of me when I was little.
I have not seen that movie for a long time, but I remember, that movie. The movie that I had that really scared the crap out of me, where I had to sleep in my parents' room when I was like 8 or 9, was Gremlins. I watched that, and that scared the crap out of me.
And Critters.
Yeah. Gremlins, I'm not going to lie, we had to throw away the VHS because like it got to the point where like I couldn't even look at the cover. I'd get so scared. So, but now I watch it and I laugh my butt off, and I was like, I was an idiot for being that scared. But now we got to go to our audience favorite part of the podcast and my favorite part of the podcast, a little questionnaire where I'm going to ask Brittany here about a dozen or so questions, and we're going to see how she stacks up to all the other health and fitness guests that we've had on the show. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song at the moment?
Oh gosh, at the moment. Dude, I'm all about Skrillex right now. I haven't listened to Skrillex in years, but there's this one song. It's called Headbanger, and I guess it's a new one. But man, that will just. I did deadlifts yesterday, 10 for 10 at 225, and I was like, yeah, give us something. I was like, yes, we're doing it. It's good. Check it out.
I'm old school where I gotta get, the Metallica or the Iron Maiden or just heavy stuff like that. But I have a problem. Like, I usually work out at home or I work out in a gym. But when I do work out in the gym, I'm one of the people where I gotta wait for the beat to drop. So sometimes, like, if I'm doing like a lat pull down, you'll see me waiting there for like 20 seconds, and people will be like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" He's just like waiting there. It's like I'm waiting for the beat to drop so I can get the timing right. So that's one thing that I do suffer from. But now, you gotta wait. Or like if I'm doing bench, I'll just have it. I'll have my hands at the bar. I haven't pushed it out yet, and it's a struggle, but it's worth it when you get a good beat drop for sure. So now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could work out with any celebrity, who would it be?
Dude, okay, so I lived in Colorado for a while, and that's kind of why I've lost some of my Texan accent. Mm-hmm. So I was working out an arm thrust, and I mean, I think this was like my second year of like in the competition world and stuff, and I'm on a lateral machine and I'm doing it, and CT Fletcher is like right there making one of his videos, and he's yelling at this dude, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I turned the volume off in my headphones. I'm like, oh yeah, he's training me. I'm going. Well, I'm wearing shorts, and he turns and he looks at me and he goes, those your legs. Look at them legs. You lift that shit, motherfucker. He's like yelling at me, like actually yelling at me. I was like, woo! Yeah. Like my set was already done like 30 reps ago. I was just like, oh god.
We're going till failure now. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I gotta say, I gotta be the most basic person ever and just say Arnold, just because it's Arnold. I mean, yeah. I've always said my one thing that I'd love is for him to yell at me with his Austrian accent would be one of the greatest things ever. Just to hear him do it, that would be awesome for me. That's hands down. But now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could train any celebrity, who would it be?
I don't really like training people and like one-on-one anymore. But you know what I have to say? I have to say Kanye, because of his facial expressions. He's just mean mugging all the time. I would just like to tell him to do something and him look at me like like I would just love it. And like, just lift it. Just go.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd be like, lift it, Kanye. He'd be like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I mean, our most popular answer, and I agree with, is Kevin Hart. That would be one of those where, I mean, the only problem would be, like I say, we wouldn't be able to get a workout in because it'd be too funny. Like, I'd get the best ab workout of all time in that day. But, I mean, and he'd be so funny, but my only excuse for him would be, like, I'm 6'3" and he's short, so I'd be like, Kevin, look at you and look at me. That would be my only comeback that I could ever make to him.
Yeah,
but
that's like the Shaq photo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, like that Shaq photo, or the best was that Shaq photo with Simone Biles, that gymnast who's like 4'10", and it literally looks like she's a puppet, and he's like her puppet master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's insane. And I saw that he was at the Olympia this last year. He was there as a guest and just standing next to some of these like competitors who are like 5 feet tall. Yeah, it was. I always said if a guy like him could get into like bodybuilding or whatever, just imagine what that would look like, having a guy that's 7'2" up there.
Monster. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I had Ronnie Coleman on. I'm gonna publish the podcast in a little bit, but Ronnie Coleman, he's like 6'4", 6'5", and he's like huge enough as it is. Imagine, imagine that plus like another 10 inches, and that's just you can't really think. Yeah, Ronnie was great. I mean, he's one of those guys who he had such a big misconception because people hear the way that he talks and they just think that he might not be the most intelligent person of all time. But that dude's like a Rhodes Scholar. Like, he was the top of his class valedictorian. I watched that Netflix special that he had on that he just released. That was, I mean, yeah, it was insane. And that was one of the guys too where I got introduced in high school. Everyone would always be saying like lightweight baby when they'd be like working out, and I'd be like, what does that mean? It's like, why are you saying that? It's like, oh, that's like what some guy Ronnie Coleman says, and I looked him up and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. So yeah,
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
So I was a trainer for Metroplex. So that's like Ronnie Coleman and Branch and all that. And so like I was training for one of the shows. It was a 2015 Universe. And like we went out to Texas, and like Ronnie just came up to me and he was just shooting the shit. Like he was so cool. He was so smart. And then, there's Branch, and like it's just at the same time you're like trying not to fangirl. You're just like, yeah, this is cool. Like we're chill. Like no big deal. Just over here talking to Ronnie and Branch. Like,
yeah, he's one of those guys where I was asking him, I was like, how are you able to fit through any doors? Like, even in your prime, I was like, did you have to build like special walkways? Because it's when it comes to just being that huge, I was like, dude, how do you even live? Like, that's just, I don't get how that's possible. Just the amount that you would have to eat to maintain that. It's like, you probably just had to have like a feeding tube that was just attached to him at all times. Just
and it's like normal for them. Just like eat up.
And like if you watch a special, the gym that he worked out in was one of the crappiest gyms ever, and it was always like 110 degrees in there. I was like, yeah, I mean, up in Minnesota, and like we always say here, you only got to look good 6 months out of the year because then the rest of it's sweater weather anyway. So
the gym that you're talking about, I haven't seen that special, but is it the original Metroplex?
Yeah,
that place. Whoa! I mean, okay, so they don't believe in like actual like cardio machines and stuff. Like they believe in you just like getting in and lifting heavy shit. So like I had to do it. Like I'm on prep. Like I need a stair mill, and it was like the oldest stair mill. There were spider webs all over it, and then there was a vertical leg press machine. So like I'm on it, and I'm doing my stuff, and I look over. There's a heckin' black widow right by my face, and I'm just like, oh my god, freaking out like a girl. That gym, you get stuff done in that gym.
Oh, absolutely. You definitely get, I mean, it's one of those where you have to go in there and put in work. But now, what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
Eggs. They're so versatile. Like, you can make them sweet, you can make them salty. Like, they go with everything. Eggs are awesome.
Yeah, eggs, definitely, hands down. Would love to have that. So now, what is one thing that people who follow you on Instagram would be surprised to know if they met you in person other than your height?
Oh. This one's hard, dude. I think a lot of people think that I have like a whole lot of friends and stuff, but I don't. Like I have Josh, I have my dogs. Like I'm really like quiet and chill. Like, and I stay in my own little bubble. Like, but via social media, I act like I'm like this, like hey, but no.
That's awesome. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that we like to hear. That's why we like to bring all these Instagram people on and just find out more about the real them. But now, what is the last TV show that you binge watched?
Last TV show binge watched? Oh gosh! Right now, I'm basically clicking through Netflix just to have background noise. But gosh, Rick and Morty.
Ooh.
Dude, yeah, it's so I freaking. Oh my gosh, I'm pickle Rick. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's a great show. I mean, for me, you're gonna think it's surprising, but it was New Girl. I watched that, and that was actually really good. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I watched it. My older brother recommended it to me, and I was like, yeah. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. But now, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Oh, my favorite TV show, like a movie or TV show.
TV show.
There's I can't think of the name. It's not Ren and Stimpy. Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
No, that's just an answer that we've never had. What's it about?
Well, how old are you?
24.
Oh man! So it was like a Nickelodeon movie, or not movie, a Nickelodeon show, and it was just like it was this dog, and like he talked like humans, like he had a job, like it was just Rocco's Modern Life. Like he had,
I think that sounds familiar. Actually, no, I might have actually seen it. I'm gonna have to after we're done taping this. I'm gonna have to look that up and then see if I've actually seen it. And then if it did, and I'll leave a thing down below if I actually did see it. It'll say like a yes or no for sure. So now,
that
yeah. Oh yeah, I'll definitely have to look that up. That does actually sound a little bit familiar now. So what is your favorite body part to train and least favorite body part to train?
Favorite body part to train, dude. I love legs. Love legs. I mean, it's my favorite and it's my least because I need a knee replacement and hip replacement on one leg. So it's like, I love it, but I'm like, it hurts so good. Like, dude, I hate doing arms. I don't like arms.
What?
I don't like.
We're the exact opposite. Yeah.
I think every dude likes training arms.
Oh yeah, every dude. I think if you asked every dude if they could only just train arms, they would just do that. If there was like a way possible where they could like just do curls all day, yeah, I'd be one of those guys too. But what about arms? Do you not like? Is it just that it just you just don't like? Do your arms or are they just naturally huge? Is that?
I do. You know what? I need to work on my arms. I think, but. So
I can say BS right now, just looking at her right now. But yeah, she can say that.
They're little pea shooters comparatively. Like, I mean, you already work them anyway. Like whenever you're doing your chest, like it's your secondary. Like whenever you're pulling, like your biceps are secondary. So it's like they're still getting work. They're just it's so boring to me. I just don't like them.
Yeah, I can totally understand that because there are times where I just get really, really bored just even doing that. But yeah, legs for me, that's the devil's workout right there. That's where I'm going to be sore, And plus, one of the bad things about living in Minnesota, I have a college story where never do legs when it's going to be really slippery outside and icy after your workout when you have to walk about half a mile back to your dorm room too. That's not gonna go well. That first time that I did that at college, because normally I'd work out at my house or I'd just have to walk out like a couple feet to my car after the gym. But when you have to walk half a mile back to your dorm room when it's about 0 degrees outside and when you're layered up after leg day, yeah, you're gonna slip and fall about 2 or 3 times and just get your whole legs bruised up and you can't even work your legs for about a week. So yeah, that's
it's like crowd there,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. But then I had another experience, too, where I got to mention again, everyone, if you're going outside, make sure that you are not wet at all because your hair will freeze. Like, I've had my hair freeze before. I had frosted tips. I mean, everyone thought that I was from NSYNC, so the ladies loved it for about 15 minutes. But then when it dried out, went back to normal. But, yeah, make sure that you don't do that 100%. But now, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh my gosh! So I really can't have ice cream. Well, not because of prep, but like with lupus and stuff, because it's like dairy like causes inflammation and stuff. But if I'm not going to be around anybody and I don't care at all what happens, French silk pie blizzard from Dairy Queen, extra pie pieces. Ugh. Yes. Mm-hmm. Have you had that?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine though is the chocolate chip cookie dough blizzard from Dairy Queen. You get me one of those. Oh, I can only limit myself to once every month, or in the summer once every 2 weeks. Because I'd be about 500 pounds if I could eat that every single day, which I would. But that is so good, and I always got to make sure that I work out before I have that. Because if I try to work out after, I'm just so full that I can't. I'm just like, yeah, I can't. I'm just too full from everything. It is so good. But now,
did you get whipped cream?
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And now that we're getting into season 2, pumpkin pie is my favorite type of pie, where that's just going to be a whole different thing where I'm going to have to limit myself to that too. What is your favorite flavor of pie?
Pie, dude. I like pumpkin, but I like French silk pie. Like that chocolate. Just,
yep. Yeah. Yeah, I can't stop thinking about that now, so I'm probably gonna have to. I mean, I was gonna get a pumpkin pie to celebrate November, but now I'm gonna definitely have to see. I'll see if I can go and check that out. But now,
Well, there's also like that. What is it? Like an upside down? It's like a chocolate pecan pie. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, upside
Oh,
down, yeah,
I just had a piece of that. Well, I say just had like a year ago. I was like
yeah.
had a bite of one. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What is this?
Oh,
It was so
yeah.
good.
It's one of those. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. But now, what is one thing that you would change about the sport of bodybuilding if you had the all-seeing power to do so?
You know, I would bring women's bodybuilding back.
Hmm.
Like it's they took it out because like masculinity and all that stuff. But here's the thing, like just let them do what they want to do. Like it's their choice. Or say that I'm a bodybuilder. It's our choice. Like it's our life. Like just leave it. You know what I mean? And if people don't like it, then they don't have to watch it.
Hmm.
Like that. And I think when it's just people need to be more humble. Like if I could just like change that, where like people think they're just hot shit all the time. Like just be humble, be nice. Like better than anyone else just
Hmm.
because you're a bodybuilder or because you're an IFBB pro. Like we all start somewhere. So yeah, that's what I would change for sure.
The whole be humble thing is like I always say. The most badass person I've ever met in a gym at all is a guy who was a Navy SEAL for 20 years and then he retired. He's one of those guys where he'll come into the gym and he'll be like, "Yeah, I haven't slept in 56 hours, but I just need to get a workout in." And I'm just like, how? And he's like, yeah, just that SEAL training just turned him into just a super freak where he just works. I mean, and he's never complained about anything. I mean, we'd have 2 feet of snow on the ground. He'll find a damn way to get to the gym. Like he doesn't care. So whenever I talk to I have had some bodybuilders who do think, that maybe they might be a little bit tougher. And I was like, that guy over there could kick your ass no matter what. So don't, it's just one of those things too where it's just, and he's just so humble that I love it. But yeah, it's one of those things too where just that his workout, I mean, he's just on a different level than every other person that I've ever met. But yeah, that thing too. And another thing too, like what you said, with not wanting to make it too manly, I always say, for some reason in our society, there's one thing where if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to get sober, there's it's not societally acceptable to make fun of that person. But for some reason, if you're trying to better yourself and get more healthy and fit, and you're a woman, and you can, then there's sort of like fair game for internet trolls or whatever. Just go after them. I don't get it. It's stupid. And like I say, it's your guys' choice, whatever you guys want to do. So might as well. I mean, it's not like they're forcing kids to do something, or it's not like they're forcing people to do it. It's the same thing with the NFL that I have the whole theory on, where it's like these people are signing up to play this. They're signing up to do this. Let them do whatever they want. Let whatever happens to them happens to them. So it's just, yeah, that's definitely something that I totally agree with 150%. But now, if you could go and have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh, what? A historical figure. Define historical.
They can be dead or alive, but basically, out of all the people in history, if you could have lunch or dinner with one person, who would it be?
Dude, people are gonna either love me or hate me for this. I just want to be able to talk to Trump and see everything that happens to him, like good and bad, because like everyone either hates him or loves him. Like he's been like rich, he's had nothing, he's got it all back. Like he was a regular dude, and now he's president. Like that dude, you could probably learn so much from that guy. And like people, they're so close minded, and just I think I think people just want to like bash on someone, and then he's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be very interesting for Trump. I'm sure there's someone else that I could like talk about, but he just comes to mind because we were talking about Kanye earlier. So
yeah, which brings us up. This video will probably be released around then. Go out and vote, everyone. Doesn't matter who you're voting for. You could vote for a squirrel, for God's sakes, but just go out there and do it. I mean, there's people. We're gonna have veterans on the show coming up that have fought for your right to vote. So just make sure that you go out there and you respect that. There have been so many people that have died for your right and all the rights that are afforded to you. So make sure to go out and exercise them and go vote next Tuesday. So, yeah, and I couldn't agree with you. I mean, I would probably have, like, one of the original founders, like a George Washington or a Thomas Jefferson, just to sit them down and be like, dude, what was that? I mean, like, What you guys did was so, like, I'm a history major myself, so what they did and what they were able to accomplish, I mean, is unprecedented in history, where I'd just be like, how did you guys pull that off? Like, what did you, I mean, that would be just to hold, I mean, I did one of those DNA tests, and I found out that I'm a descendant of Ulysses S. Grant, who was a president, and then he was also the leader of the Union Army during the Civil War. And so and I also found out that I'm related to Richard Gere. So if you didn't notice the similar facial features and facial,
I saw you, I was like,
oh yeah, Richard Gere. Yep. I get that a lot.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So, but I'm like a 10th cousin of him. So I can't really email him and be like, hey, give me some money, Richard. I need some. But yeah. So that was really, really cool, and I highly recommend everyone go out and do that as well, because it's really cool to find out that more specific stuff. Like, I knew that I was related to some famous people, but just to find out the scale things, and even Sarah Palin was one person that we found on my list too that I'm related to. So I was like, okay, that's that's all right, I guess. I mean, she's interesting enough. So also, I gotta also add, when it comes to your bodybuilding and your prep, what would you say is the hardest thing for you overall?
The hardest thing overall, I think it's when. Okay, so I have a hard time distinguishing, like, is it actually prep that's hard on me right now, or am I having a lupus flare up? So I noticed, like, from, just like past experiences and stuff, like, I'm very thankful for my coaches, because they can talk me down, and I'm not that I'm saying like I'm on a ledge or anything, but like, as women, like, we get in our heads a lot. So I usually, like, whenever I'm having one of those moments, it's usually because I'm really drained from lupus, and it's not from prep. Like, prep is hard, but excuse my language, it's not shit compared to lupus and MS and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think I have a difficult time being like, okay, I actually need to rest today, or no, you need to go and, do your prep, like 100%. You know what I mean? Because if I do that and it's the wrong move for me, then I'm out for 2 or 3 days because of a flare up. So I think finding that balance is really hard, because I'm a very strong person mentally. So,
and physically.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, if you could go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
Oh, gosh. So much. Can I write her a book? Probably say, you're going to be okay, girlfriend. Like, work hard, let things come, let things go. Like, what's for you is going to be for you, and just enjoy every freaking moment you have, because there's going to be things that you have today, and they're not going to be there tomorrow, and things that you don't have right now that they're going to come tomorrow. Like, you just have to enjoy life, like, as it comes. Just go with it.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And now, you mentioned before that you are engaged, and me being the hopeless romantic myself, I like to ask these few questions of people that are engaged or in relationships. So how did you and your fiance meet?
Oh my gosh. So my story and his story are very different, but my story, we met on the gluten-free aisle at a grocery store. So that's my version of sticking to it.
So where did you guys go for your first date?
We met, what was it? What's it called? It was like a mini golf place, and there were like video games and all that stuff, and we both showed up wearing like the same kind of, it was like a 3/4 cut off, it was like a baseball tee, but they had like the same colors and stuff. Like, it was real interesting, and we were both very like competitive against each other, and then we went and ate at, what is it, like some fish place, I don't know. And then the one really sweet thing, he's a schmoozer, like hardcore, like, he can be mean to other people, I don't care, he's the sweetest man to me. But he asked me, like, he's like, hey, I would really like to see you again, can I please take you out again? Like, and always opens my doors, like, he waits on me hand and foot, like, he is just so wonderful.
That's awesome. Now I gotta mention, because every time I bring this up, I have to mention my mom and dad's first date, because it is the worst first date I think I've ever heard in my entire life. And the fact that I was still able to be conceived after that, I mean, is one of those things where I just thank whatever higher power is out there immensely. So my mom and my dad's first date, it was a blind date set up by friends. They met at an amusement park, which is about 2 miles from where we live now. And, well, my mom still lived in the area, but my dad, first of all, when he showed up, he accidentally forgot his wallet, so he didn't have any money, so my mom had to pay for everything. And when they were on a roller coaster, my dad threw up on the roller coaster. Not on her, but he threw up just, he got sick. But then for some reason, I don't know why, at the end, my mom accepted to go on a second date with him. We don't know why. I mean, me and my brothers always like to give her a lot of crap and say, like, Mom, how desperate were you that you were able to go on a second date with this guy who had done all this stuff? But, I think whatever higher powers out there, that the fate was right for them. But it's just one of those things where when people think about how lucky they are in some circumstances, I think I'm considerably lucky that actually ended up working out. Because if you do that scenario a million times, it's probably the one scenario where that actually turns out working favorably for the guy. So, it's just, that's one of those huge things too. So now, but how did he propose to you? What was the proposal story?
Okay, so he like I was telling you earlier, he's a schmoozer. Like, he is such a goofy teddy bear. Like, I would think, like, beforehand, I would think, like, oh, it's gonna be like this huge, lavish, like romantic thing. And he's also very, very logical too. So he thinks about things before he even acts. And we were driving to the gym one day, and he was like, I've been thinking, okay, about what? And like we already knew that we were getting married and stuff. But he was like, we should get married. I've been thinking about it, and like he started like listing off like the pros of getting married and stuff.
God.
Like it was like a business proposal. Like,
yeah.
You know what? Here's everything that I have to offer for you.
He gave you like a contract and everything. He's like, yeah, please sign a dot at the bottom.
Kind of like it was like completely, but it was the sweetest thing ever. Like just totally just random. Like what? Like I didn't even have words. I'm so glad that I was wearing sunglasses too, because I'm pretty sure like I had tears in my eyes. I was like, "This is happening." Like,
this is the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, hearts above my head. Like, but I really appreciate it because like I said, like he's very logical too. So he thinks about that, and he's in psychological operations, like with military and stuff. So they think about things like that. Yeah. So I'm very glad that came about it that way, because I know he thought it through.
How do you know that he's using his powers for good too, and he's not just been psychologically manipulating you this entire time?
Bro, I've asked him that so many times. Like, and even sometimes I'll be like, "Hey, man, am I in a coma?" But like I've heard of a story of this dude. Like, he was in a coma, right? But in his coma, he had no idea it was his coma, and like everything in his life was perfect. Like, he loved his freaking life, and that's where I'm at right now, right? So I'm like, did something happen when I was really sick and now I like have this awesome life? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna stay asleep though. It's cool.
Maybe this is all a dream. Who knows? Maybe we don't know. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. So, and always, like I say, as we start to wrap things up here, I always like to say, thank you so much, Brittany, for coming on the podcast. We really, really appreciate it. And you said that you're 2 weeks out from a show. What show are you doing?
I'm doing Nationals in Miami.
Miami. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I had Kelly Lynn on the podcast. I think she's going to be doing that too. So yeah,
we're in the same class.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. So now we'll see these two come together. I mean, I think you're personally going to do great. You look amazing, and Kelly's going to do great too. She also looks amazing. It's just really cool to talk to people and find out their own individual stories. So, what is the future though looking like for you in the next year? What would you like to see come out of all of this within a year?
So right after the show, we're flying to Utah for his family, and then we fly back, and then we get married. So man, like honestly, I just want to. I'm gonna take a good year or two, like away from the stage. Like obviously, I'm still gonna live. I'm still gonna be focused on all of that. I'm still going to be like eating well and dieting and stuff. But like I'm also going to school too still. And like, I just want to kind of step away from the stage so I can, be better for my clients. I want to focus on having a good marriage. I'm excited to be a wife. And I just want to let my body grow, man. I want to get back into strongman training. Like I I just want to enjoy it. Like, I'm not saying I don't enjoy the stage. I love the stage, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to step away for a bit and just to breathe. You
So
know.
is he from Utah? Your fiance?
Yeah. So his family's from Utah.
LDS.
Hmm?
LDS.
They actually just got their names stricken from the church, or that. Yeah, it was like a big deal. I don't really know much about it, but.
Oh, I was gonna say, because we had one person from Utah and they're LDS. I just like to say, because there's always that huge misconception that, like, oh, it's a huge color and thing, but there's some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, or people latter days.
Absolutely.
Like, it's one of those Utah. There's some of the nicest, most kind, accepting people. It's just that they just had that huge stigma from something that was like 200 years ago, where it's like you can have this many wives, or whatever, and that was written out like a long, long time ago. So
there is a YouTube. Yeah. Not a YouTube. Excuse me. A Netflix thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's like My Three Wives or something.
Yeah.
That's wild.
There's still like bylaws that some people like try to claim that like they can do it, but like it's not endorsed. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like I had like a Mormon on here, and it's just like, yeah, they're so stigmatized. And I mean, it's like there's some, like I said, there's some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And like if they're a cult, that's a cult done right. I'd like to say then. So that's
like they're always helping each other. Like, what do you need, brother? Like, they're a great group of people. And like that was one of the questions I asked him. I'm like, so I'm gonna be your only wife, right? Like,
no, actually, come and meet my other 10 ones. They're right out here. They just all come walking out.
Are they gonna put my food for me? Like,
yeah. No, yeah. As soon as I heard Utah, I was like LDS. Yep. So yeah, but that's awesome. So also, right before we wrap things up, is there one thing is there one big misconception about bodybuilding or female bodybuilding in particular that you would love to see personally put to rest?
I think so. When you see me out on the streets, like I either get like a "Oh my gosh, this is awesome! You're so cool," or a "Ew, that's gross." And I think like people, they're very quick to speak, and they don't care about thinking. Like, I'm a human being. I'm actually very, very nice. Just don't mess with me when I'm trying to lift, because I will look at you funny. Like,
she's from Texas, everyone. Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, don't mess with Texas, bro. But like we're all so nice, and like seriously, like if you don't have anything nice to say, like keep your comments to yourself. Like, don't actively try and hurt people. Like, be positive, be happy, and we can all get along. You know what I mean?
I agree with that 100%. Like, that's one experience that I've had. Some of the biggest people that you'll ever meet when it comes to bodybuilding, they're some of the nicest, most open, kind, caring people. I mean, all of my experiences with bodybuilders on this show, I've had probably about, I'd say 15 of them on, all been super, super positive. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. It's all just about going up and talking to people. I mean, and just getting to know people. It's one of the things that I really, really love about this podcast. And again, Brittany Nicole, we cannot thank you enough. Everyone, go follow her on Instagram. Oh yeah, and your Limitless Physiques is right behind you. Where is that? Your company that people can also find you at?
Yeah. So, shameless plug, right? I didn't even know opens. Yeah. So limitlessphysiques.com. That's me.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Limitless Physiques. I'll link the Instagram. I'll link everything down below, all of her info. And then lastly, if there was one thing that you could do in order... Oh, hang on one second. I messed up. See, that's my one mess up. I always say for editing-wise. And we got it done late in the podcast. Yeah, no worries. So I'm just marking the time down. So in 3, 2, 1. And lastly, we saw an earlier appearance earlier on this podcast for anyone that was paying attention. There was a dog right below you. What kind of dog do you have?
Oh my gosh. So I rescued her. And her name was Twix or some candy bar, right? And I rescued her whenever I was at Metroplex, like at the gym and stuff. So she was the gym dog. And she was a freaking brat. She was terrible. She did not listen. She would bite people. And then one day, like, I'm yelling at her across the gym. I'm like, "You little booger butt." And she stops what she's doing. And I mean, she dead, like, sprints towards me. She comes up and, like, hits me with her paws. Like, booger butt. And she, this dude tried to, like, kill her. And so she only has, like, a little nub for her tail. And, yeah, so sad. But her little nub started, like, wiggling. And I like to do, like, little thump with it, right? It was so cute. But ever since then, like, her name is Booger. Like, that's her name. She is just, she's rescue. She's an old lady. She's a sweetheart. She's grumpy. Like, she makes noises. But she's, Booger. See if I can get her.
What kind of dog is she?
I don't even know. That's what I was going to try and show you. She's, like, she's like, I have like some sort of Jack Russell in her, but so lazy. Like,
we have a little Cavachon, which is like a little Cavalier King Charles mixed with a Vachon, a little like 12-pound dog. Yeah, it's got the biggest eyes. And we had one lady on, I'm just about to release her podcast tomorrow, but she had like one of those, I forgot what it was called. It's the cutest dog ever. It was a little puppy that was like this big and it was all brown and it had like the biggest eyes and it was like fluffy too. And it interrupted our podcast. His name was Teddy. And then it came on and it was the greatest thing ever. And then we had like Jody Lyons, who's another bodybuilder. She was on, and she has cats and dogs. And one of her cats, her bodybuilding trophies were in the background, and one of her cats jumped up on the trophies and knocked one of them over when we were talking. So I was like, okay, Jody, I just gotta let you know that everyone's gonna be watching in the background, and no one's gonna be paying attention to you during the podcast because that was. And she's like, oh yeah, my cats are just great. So that's great. And I'm just a huge dog lover myself. I mean, I'm one of those people where if you invite me over to your house, I'm gonna hang out with your dog 75% of the time.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So again, you guys, we cannot thank Brittany enough for coming on the podcast. I'll leave all of her links down below, and we wish you nothing but the best in your competition in a couple of weeks. Obviously, looking at you right now, you're going to do very, very well, I think, and you have another 2 weeks to help hopefully get ready for that. And keep us updated on how that goes. And again, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout-out to before we wrap things up?
I've met so many freaking awesome people. I know a lot of people that are going to the show. Like, my mentor Skip, my coach Cliff Wilson, like my other coach, my very first coach, like Adam O'Meara, like all these people like help me. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people. I just you don't have all day for that. So
absolutely. And again, we really appreciate Brittany coming on the show. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.